Hello again, and welcome to the next part of the top 10 Excel functions. This one's going to be in the date function, and before I get drawn into the whole thing about date, I want to show you how Excel handles dates in general. So if you have a look at today's date, which will be formatted as UK date just in case you happen to be from the US, that's today's date. And you'll find if I turn that into a normal number, that's how Excel stores the value, which is actually the number of days that have passed since the 1st of January 1900. So if I was to say 1 and then format that as a date, you'll see that is in fact the 1st of January 1900, and then going up 1, that's the 2nd of January, and so on and so on. I won't type up all the 40,000 ones here. So that's just to keep in mind how Excel really treats dates, even though you see them as US or UK formatted or ISO dates or anything, they are really numbers, and they're all integers when you're talking about dates in general. But as you can guess, the way Excel stores this information includes the feasibility to store fractions. So if you think 40,000 something something 0.5, that will be noon on that given day. And if you then break down one day into a number of seconds or even further values, subfractions, that's how Excel stores this whole information. So with that in mind, let's go back to Microsoft's website and have a look at what date function really does. So use Excel's date function when you need to take three separate values and combine them into a date. And the three separate values will be the year, month, and the day. For anyone in the US, that's unfortunate, but that's how it works. You'll just have to get your head around ISO dates. And all of these three subparts are always required. You always need a year, you always need a month, and a day. If your year is between 0 and 1899, then Excel will add a value to calculate the year. So for example, if you say year, in this case would be 108, it's really going to mean 2008 because you're adding 1900 on top of it. If your year is between 1900 and 9999 inclusive, then that's the year number you're going to have. Anything less than 0 or more than 10,000 and you get a number error. Same with month. So anything more than 12 will add, and anything less than 1 will subtract the magnitude of that number in months. So +1 in this case from the first month of the year specified. For example, date -3 for the month will result in 3 months back in the past compared to whatever you had in here. Very similar with days. If your day is more than 31, or in fact the number of days you have in that specific month, such as you say 30 for February, it will add that number of days on top of how many days you have in the month. If you have anything lower than 1, it will get subtracted. Now, this is what I was talking about, that Excel stores dates as sequential serial numbers, so you can use them for calculations, and I will demonstrate that in a bit. In the meanwhile, I've set up the same bit of logic in my spreadsheet so we can come to see what's going on, and I will be using today's date, whatever that might be, 2019, 12, and it was the 16th. Therefore, if I say date, and I don't have to specify year as year something, you don't need to do that unless you have a good reason. So just say that's your year, that's your month, and your day is hiding in here. So that's what you do. And again, that is today's date, and if we format it as generic, that is 43,815, which of course is 7 years down the line from what Microsoft had here, but it works the same way. If we go back and format it as a long date, you see what's going on. So that's the easy how to do dates. Of course, you can type in values and you could say 2010, and then you get that value. If you say that minus 20, as we said, it would be 8 months back from the date you have here. And don't get confused, it says 2019, remember now we're in 2010, hence the whole 2009. And you can add a plus value just to confuse it totally. Well, Excel smart, it's not going to confuse it, but you might get confused yourself. So this is how to change the date format, and one of the options you have is coming here and having short date or long date. Alternatively, you can always go into more number formats and just pick the sort of format that you're after, such as ISO date. If that still doesn't work for you, you can come into custom and define your own date layout. There's going to be a video later on how to do custom types, but for the time being, probably just work with what you have here. Perhaps you can change the locale to meet your requirements. I'm just going to cancel out now. The other thing I wanted to show you is how to increase or decrease date by a certain number of days, and I've touched upon this briefly further up, but we'll just do it again. Remember how we have a date here, which is today's date, and I'll delete this just so that it's not confusing anyone, most of all us. So if I say date and just go all the way, that's the date you have now. If you paste that here as a value and switch to formula view, this is what Excel is looking at, and that's what you have here. And what you can do is add 7 on top of that. If you pull that down, that being fixed, and go back to normal mode, you see how it has added an extra week on top of each of your dates. Now we can make the same thing, paste back as values, take the formats, and just look at the formula view again. So those are the values, how Excel is storing them. Those are the actual formulae, and for our purposes they are identical. There are further documents on the website about addition and subtraction, doing current date and time, filling data, and a whole bunch of other things that aren't particularly relevant for today's task. I do suggest you have a look at them, and any questions you may have, please drop me a comment. Thank you for watching.